This is just a mental note to make a post about some of the ego stories and narratives that we have in our head. Kind of like, oh, they're doing the most, they in their feelings. They think they are lads. They bougie. They trying to copy me. They know it all. They're bragging on themselves and to try to make me feel bad about myself, or they trying to compete with me by noticing their accolades or noticing their accomplishments. Just when I say something about myself that's positive, they gotta have something to say after it. So that must be competition. Just these narratives in our head that play over and over that make us feel negative about each other, towards each other. Rise and shine your light in opulence, my solution seekers. It's your girl, the spiritual activist, coming to you with another vent therapy session, story, opinion, whatever. So today I want to talk about reframing. As the culture of healing, booms and, spirituality and all these other things, I feel like a lot of things are getting negative connotations, and it's fueling internalizations of, cultural disdain or hate or resentment or whatever. And to me, that's just going to help. That's just only fueling you to bypass the healing, because that energy is not motivational. It fuels hopelessness. But anyway, I'm all about reframing. So I want to reframe a couple things. Like, I know a lot of people say things about emotional dumping and complaining and gossiping and stuff. And honestly, these are labelings to me of the the psychology. How can I say? But really, it's just venting. It's all about how you choose to perceive it. Everybody doesn't perceive someone coming to them and releasing their tension as emotional dumping. Emotional dumping is a personal perspective that a person who feels like they can't hold space at that moment may feel, because some moments you may feel like a person is emotional dumping, and sometimes you may feel like, oh, I can handle it. So that thought doesn't even come to your mind, because you just, ready to give them advice, or you just ready to hear the gossip or the tea. So it's really about not labeling people as these inconsiderate people who just going around emotionally dumping or complaining or gossiping, because, once before there was an issue. So, just look at it as venting. But I want to also talk about when you do feel like you can't hold space, when, going through the healing process, or, when you start to heal all of these old conditionings in your mind and all these programmings that's in your mind, it may be overwhelming. So you may need to hold space for yourself, and you may need to fill your own cup up so that you can, share with other people. And so, to me, that's going to come to what I like to call, I've redefined boundaries, because I feel like boundaries are getting a negative connotation too. And people are getting very defensive about it. And I feel like the best way to show that, to try to cultivate that empathy and that compassion, is to, what I've called them is love limits. Because to me, it's like, boundaries are establishing a space where I can fill my cup up so that I'm able to help you when I'm able to. It's a love limit for me so that I can continue to love on to you. And it's not anything personal about you. It's not saying that what you're doing is wrong or bad because you want to, have your strength and show your strength and vent. But what it is saying is that maybe I'm in a space where mentally, emotionally, physically, or mentally, I cannot hold space for you at that moment. And that's should be perceived as okay. That's a reasonable request. And so I feel like a lot of times we come off with these defensive mechanisms. We want to be out hard and just be like, I'm setting these boundaries and this is how I'm going to do it. I don't want to hear none of that complain no more. Yada, yada, yada. But you have to be careful about that energy and that way that you're perceiving and handling, because what you put out is what you're going to get. You want to sit here and be selfish and all the time, or not saying that that's selfish per se, but in general, you want to have this selfish mentality, or you want to have this mentality of, I don't want to hear nobody else's issues. Then be mindful of that too when you have your issues, because at the end of the day, it's all about reciprocity and balance. It's about give and take. It's not about you just trying to cut everybody off and just not want to help anyone. That's not what it's about. And that's why I say I'm reframing and redefining these things I feel like are gaining a negative connotation because people are getting triggered and they're receiving it in the wrong way because, everybody may not have had boundaries growing up. And also people may have triggers to growing up in households where they may not have felt comfortable asking questions. So these are things that it may be hard for that person to receive a boundary or a love limitation because they never had it, and so they don't perceive it as love. They may perceive it as something totally opposite, or they not even love may not even be an equation, but it just may be something that they feel would be easier to just not do it all. And you want to prevent any feelings of resentment or bitterness or them perceiving you in the wrong way. So to me, I feel like we need to start more teaching than just being like F people all the time. And, we want true change. We want true solutions. Then it's not all about just being F them all the time. That's cool in some situations when it's like, I don't have time to explain myself. But sometimes if you want to cultivate this relationship, if this relationship is worth having, then there are going to be moments when you have to swallow your pride too and compromise and actually express yourself in a compassionate manner. These compassionate conversations, these honest conversations, these, with the intentions to just really help that person understand and have compassion for you. That's how you have that empathy. Have them feel where you're coming from. And hopefully they'll, they may not understand at that moment. They may be triggered at that moment. They may have defenses at that moment. They may be riled up, but, continue to send them love and light. And maybe they'll eventually see it from your perspective. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on love limits. But guys, yeah, as always, someone who cares, peace, love, light, and healing energies, be open to receiving them. Keep God first. I love you guys. Peace out. How to release fear of the negative Nancy or the judgmental person. When you realize that we all are here with identities and personas that are defense mechanisms, basically created to protect us because of the experiences we've had. So, for example, say, you with your partners or whatever, and you feel like, man, I gotta put on this little hard role. I can't be vulnerable. I can't show my emotion. I can't show that, man, I be stressed. I be worried. I be having anxiety. I be having depression. I gotta look hard. Like, nah, nigga, I'm straight. I'm good. I'm good, all that extra stuff. You know why? Because you worried about your partners clowning you, and because they upholding the persona. Everybody got the mask, so the way you take the mask, the way you take away that persona is by being honest, by being true, by being real. People want to talk about being real. Nigga, most people out here ain't being real, and that's why when real recognize real, and that's why when people really start to see real, that's why they got that saying, you can't handle the truth. Because it's like when people really start taking that mask off, then you start seeing people for what they are. It's scary because now you're putting yourself at a vulnerable state. That's why I say sensitivity is not a weakness. It takes strength to put your struggles and challenges out there. It takes strength to be vulnerable. That's the true strength, and that's why it's a misconception and an illusion that sensitivity, femininity, and not in the sense of female, but like just that feminine energy of being nurturing, being intuitive, whatever, all these extra things, that's weak. It's not no weakness. It's reality. We are humans. Like, we have energies of femininity and masculinity, whatever those may be to you. But the point is that you walking around fearing that this person is gonna say this or say that, so you put on this role because you don't want to be perceived as weak or lame or whatever people may tell you. But at the end of the day, once you realize that, nigga, the only reason they got that persona and the only reason they walking around acting like they so hard is because somebody done clown them once in their life. Maybe when they was a kid, or maybe they saw that this is how you have to walk around. You got to look like a thug. You got to look like a hood nigga. You got to look like whatever these hard identities are, so that you protect yourself, so that people know that you ain't about no punk. But the thing about me is, I don't care about putting my emotions on my sleeve, because test me if you want to. Like, I'm a love and light person, and I do believe in, being respectful and positive and all these other things. But it's like, don't take my kindness for weakness. Don't let the glasses fool you. Like, don't let the nerdiness, sensitivity, whatever, the fact that I may be conquering depression or conquering anxiety or whatever I want to label them, really they just tough moods. To me, I empower myself. So don't think you can step dumb to me or go crazy on me and think I'm not gonna put you in your place or establish some kind of boundary, and I'ma still handle it in a mature way. Like, you still ain't finna get me to stoop to your level and put me in those low energies. I'm just going to tell you like it is. Like, come at me correct or don't come at me at all. And it's simple as that. And that's kind of how you have this mentality of, it's not a resentful mentality. Love these people. Know that they are coming from a place of hurt. They're coming from a wounded place. That's why they have to have this mask on, because they're protecting their true self. But they don't even realize that this image that they're having is a false self. It's just a defense mechanism. Give them love and light, you know what I'm saying? But don't subject yourself to constant abuse. You know what I mean? Tell people about themselves in a way that they can receive it in a loving, compassionate manner. Have understanding for them and take them for where they are. But that doesn't mean you have to subject yourself to it all the time. But, do what you can. But this is a way that you get past the fear, that you release that fear of judgment, because once you realize we are all wounded inner children trying to be the adults out here in any way that we think protects us, then you realize that they're all just a bunch of defense mechanisms. It's all a bunch of layers of the mask. Like, strip that mask off layer by layer, and then you realize that you're strong regardless. It don't matter what you're battling with. That's a strength. The fact that you out here sane and you ain't lost your mind, you can read a book, you can do your daily task every day, you can function. You are a miracle. You are a asset to this world. You are worthy. You're born this way. Nobody can take that from you. It's okay to take a mask away. It's okay to take that away. Guys, when you're in the process of going through the motions and just feeling your emotions, you may, also have the intentions to release anything that does not belong to you. But don't be sitting up here blaming everything. Oh, yeah, that's Byron them. That's why I'm feeling all messed up. They was coming up here with all that negative energy. Because a lot of times, those feelings you're having are your own feelings. And you don't want to get too carried away with blaming other people for your emotions, because then you're not really addressing them, you're avoiding them, and that's kind of like your mind's way of creating an excuse. Your mind loves to blame everybody else, and it's like your feelings become foreign, and you think it's everybody else because your feelings are foreign. Like, you really don't know that is you, that is a part of you, and that's part of the integration. The integration is part of your shadow is your feelings. As Black people, we've shadowed things that I feel like the average person may not have shadowed, and feelings. Anything that's perceived as weakness, we shadow, because Black people, we don't like to look like we're the products of our trauma. But it's okay if you have this trauma. You cannot process it until you first admit it. It's okay if you have an alcohol addiction. It's okay if you have an emotional eating addiction. It's okay if you have a smoking addiction. It's okay if you have a violent nature. That is okay. You're not going to fix it until you admit it, until you say, yes, I have this. And I'm not trying to blame anybody, but it is because I've been subjected to so much heartache and pain, and just living in this life with this victim mentality and this hopelessness and this helplessness. It has created me to be this spoiled mentality where I'm helpless in this world. And, just being real with yourself, because that's the first step it's going to take, is admittance and acceptance before you can actually get the help you need. And surrender to God. When you really feel like you've done all you can, that's when you leave it up to God. Call on God, call on Spirit to help you when you are ran out of all the answers. We have so much shame and guilt, and it's within our own community, but I still don't even blame our community, because that mentality has been infiltrated into our community. The way we want to bring each other down and make people feel bad about going through mental crisis and having mental issues. We of all people should have mental issues too, and we of all people should be able to get the help we need. So yeah, I just want to say, like, sometimes those thoughts and those feelings are foreign because we've shunned them so much, we've rejected so much, even with our physical selves, as our physical bodies. So it's like the process of integrating that is accepting and allowing those emotions to surface, allowing that foreign feeling to come up. Because you've been coping with it for so long, you've been masking it for so long, you've been suppressing it with this drug and that habit and that habit and that habit for so long that you don't even know what it really truly feels like to be in this state of surrender. It took me a while. It goes back and forth. You get a breakthrough, you may take a couple steps back, because as you introduce and tap into a little bit more of this energy, It's powerful. I just had heaven on earth 2 days ago, and now I'm going through the motions. That's part of getting to heaven on earth. Sometimes spirit will give you a little taste of what you want so that you can see what you're working towards. But don't get happy with that and think that that's how it's going to stay periodically. Understanding that emotions are energy in motion. You're going to constantly always have these waves of emotion, but it's about how you bounce back is the growth. How you cope with it is the growth. How you deal with it is the growth. How you manage it is the growth. Not beating yourself up. Oh, if this time it didn't look so pretty. Oh, this time it didn't work out the way you imagined it or way you wanted it to. Did you try? Sometimes that's good enough. That's all you can do is you try. If that means you sit up there and you drank a whole bottle of this, or you smoked a whole sweet, or you ate a whole box of Oreos, or you ate a whole pint of ice cream, okay. Are you going to beat yourself up about it? You're already down. Why are you beating yourself? A lot of the times, the critics and the naysayers and the people who are judging us is the voice in our head. It's not even other people. We're all a whole world of people living in this illusion type of mentality, and we feel like it's society, but really the society we have created is in our head. The judgment that we have created is in our head. We all want to let our hair down. We all want to feel normal. We all want to feel comfortable in our authenticity. But because of the world we're living in our heads, it's hard to get out of that, and we're thinking it's everybody else pointing the finger. But if we all just realize it's our own sabotage, then that's where we can make the first step to actually make change. And this is coming from someone who woke up this morning feeling sad, feeling like off, just, the energy wasn't right. What did I do? I journaled. I was dancing. I started, trying to laugh at my son. I was dancing, having fun. The music, I put on some good music. I opened up the windows, then a song came on that jogged my memory of something sad to me, and I needed that cry. It was a song that I actually had a personal relation to. It was instrumental, but still. So I cried, I let it out. I said the things that I wanted to say to that person. I embraced that feeling. Then my son came in, he making his jokes like, "Mommy, you cry again? You still sneezing?" or something, and I kind of laughed, but it's like, I know I needed to get that cry out. Then, I started back dancing again. And it's just like that right there, that allowing myself to go through the motions, to have the waves, and I feel like, man, you're crazy. You was just crying, boo-hooing, and now you're up here dancing. If I keep that mentality, what's going to happen? I'm going to feel like I have to stay stuck in this emotion. That's what happens, and that's how depression comes about, because you take one sad moment, you turn a molehill into a mountain because you feel like, I'm supposed to be sad for a long time. No, you just needed to go through that moment of sadness. Feel the emotion. Don't be it. Don't identify with it. Just because you feel sad does not mean you have to be a sad person. Just because you feel angry does not mean you have to be an angry person. That's how we get stuck in these feelings. Just because you feel impatient doesn't mean you have to be an anxious person. Or just because you feel scared does not mean you have to be an anxious person. Learn that these are just moments and embrace them. Allow yourself to have them without judgment, without shame, without guilt. Because like I said, it's not the other people guilting you, it's yourself. You're holding yourself back. You're your worst enemy. You're self-sabotaging. Because we live in this world, and sometimes we get in our head that make us feel like, oh, we can't be happy. Because, we are around some negativity, and people who will, make comments that make you feel like, dang, I can't be happy. So it's more easier to harness this negativity than positivity, I understand. But at the end of the day, the ultimate power lies in your hand. Are you going to allow that person's opinion and their state and their journey, where they're at in their journey, to affect your journey? No. You're going to continue to shine your light, and you're going to continue to be the change you want to see, and so that you can be a true testament of what you preach. I pride myself on my integrity, on my heart, on my compassion, and the last thing I want to do is preach something that I'm not living. If you know me, you know I'm a perfectionist, and I pride myself in trying to do and deliver the best that I can. God knows how much I'm putting into healing and reversing and integrating all of the emotions, feelings, physical natures, every part of me into myself, really facing my shadows, really facing my demons, which is my mind. My mind is my biggest roadblock, which was the place I went for solace. If the thing that we want to protect our kids from, we think it's the outside world. No, it's their mind, baby. If you don't give them the tools that they need, they're going to go somewhere to find it. And generally, it's going to be an ego that they've created that's fueling all of these negative, false beliefs. Oh, you're weak. Oh, you're not strong. Oh, you are crazy. Oh, you need mental health. What's wrong with you? You better just pray and just pray on it. No, all of these false stories and all of these destructive and dysfunctional beliefs that our ego create this false reality that is doing nothing but continuously keeping us down. And it stemmed from colonization. Taking the spiritual aspect out of our holistic wellness has been detrimental to everything, because the spiritual aspect is what keeps us centered. Also, just kind of remembering what I said too about perspective is power, and perspective is power, and basically the way things make you feel is the only truth. So that's how you redefine something. So I'm just give you an example. Being diagnosed with depression. You can choose to let that diagnosis define you and make you feel low about yourself, or you can choose to reframe that and say, oh, well, you say I got depression. I just feel like I'm going through a tough time right now, and I'm going to figure out how to get through it, and I'm going to not let this hold me back. Or you say I have this terminal illness. I'm going to fight this terminal illness. I'm going to go and look into every holistic. I'm not giving up. I'm not going to just let these diagnoses and these labels fuel me with hopelessness. Make it, reframe it, shift that perspective so that you harness it and that you look at it as a challenge. To harness that warrior energy, harness that competitive energy within you and fight. Use those tools when you feel defeated. Use those tools when you feel despair. Use those tools when you feel sorrow. This is how you reframe to take your power back. When someone has told you you have something detrimental and they've labeled you as something, or something that you feel like is a label that has a meaning of, how can I say, like a limit. Like, oh, this person has ADHD, so they can't never focus. Or this person has whatever. Like, this person is ghetto, so they don't deserve this job. Are you going to allow that to these people or this black race is ghetto? They're unruly. They're lazy. They're this. They'll never be successful. Okay, you wanna be prejudiced and racist. You wanna be ignorant about it, huh? I'm gonna show you ignorant. Prove them wrong. Make them mad. Make that voice in your head mad. Make the society that you know how you perceive society and their depiction of you, prove it wrong. That's how you win the war. That's how you win the battle. That's how you conquer these low feelings. You prove it wrong. Oh, okay. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch. Like, okay, you say I can't do it, but I'm gonna prove you. I'm gonna show you I can't do it. I'm gonna show you, but I can tell you. And that's how I transmute a lot of negative energy. I just look at it as a challenge. I'm like, I've conquered everything thus far. I've handled all the challenges in my life thus far. Every breakup, every bad relationship, the stillbirth of my son, the struggles of dealing with depression, the struggles of dealing with anxiety, the struggles of suicidal attempts. I'm still here. Still I rise. You got to rise up and not let these things defeat you and fuel you with feelings of helplessness, victim mentality, hopelessness. That is the agenda. You're letting them win when you do that. Whoever them is, whether it's the voices in your head or actual society. Prove society wrong. Don't be a statistic or whatever they call a statistic. That is how you transmute and shift that perspective so that you can empower yourself. That's how you liberate your spirit. Also using positive self-talk, or mantras, like, whatever you got to say to yourself. Like, if you feeling, if those thoughts get powerful, you want to say to yourself, well, you know what? I'm finna fight. You ain't finna put me down. Society, you know what? You ain't finna hold me down. You're not finna restrict me or make me feel like I ain't worth it. I know I'm worth it. Whatever, however you talk to yourself like your homeboy, like your partner, talk to yourself like your girlfriend that gas you up. You gotta shift that perspective and change that voice in your head and become your biggest cheerleader so that you can get past those hard times. You have to be your own cheerleader. You have to be your biggest fan. You have to gas yourself up. You can't wait on nobody else, and that's also how you get past this fear of abandonment or need for validation. Because once you validating yourself enough, you so confident, you've boosted your self-worth, you've grounded in that, knowing that that's who you truly are, that you don't need nobody to tell you that you're a good person, that you're worthy, that you have meaning, that your life is worth and has value. You don't care what other people say about you based on how you look, act, speak, whatever. Because you know that does not define you. This is just part of your character. And it's up to you to choose and allow what the things that you've experienced and the things that people have told you to create the personality that you have. That's you allowing whatever you've been through to create your character. But what people don't realize is you always have a choice. Your character can shift at any second. Any day you wake up, you want to say, I don't want to be this way anymore. You have that power to do that. You have the power to say, all the people that held me down and told me I was this, and this, that's not me. And I know that I am more than what they have told me. So I'm going to prove them wrong, and I'm going to become a better person. I'm going to prove them wrong, and I'm going to do this or do that. Like, these are important things. Look into mantras. Look into positive self-talk to get, more insight on it. And like I say, I like to use cliches. Cliches are like tried and true phrases that I feel like really have helped us, and over time they are always proven to be true. Well, majority of them, you know what I mean? But just find things that help you stay in the vibration of love, light, and positivity and optimism. It may seem fake or like, how can I say, dumb or hard at first because there's so much resistance in the negatively centered world that we have. But don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into the agenda of keeping your spirit down. Liberate your spirit by reframing and shifting your mindset. Like I said, replace the lies in the roots. Basically, the lies are all the things that people have told you based on their conditioning. Replace them with truth. Truth for me, I get it out of God's word. Some things in the Bible. I don't necessarily say I'm Christian, but I do seek that word for a lot of my truth. God is love to me, so anything that's love, I feel like conquers all. Then you rewire. Rewiring takes you, writing things down, making declarations, making devotions, recording your voice and listening to it. So listening to it, speaking it, and writing it are ways that you really embed it into your neural pathways to actually change your subconscious mind. And then you reframe, and I always talk about reframing. That's basically shifting your perspective to see things from a more a higher perspective, not necessarily jumping to a defensive mechanism or to a triggered state, but seeing it for what it is and seeing the other person's maybe perspective to kind of give you a better understanding of the situation, cultivating empathy and compassion. And then, like I said, always rejoicing in the fact that God is always good, even when it doesn't look like it to you, having that faith and holding on to that. But yeah, that's just basically ways of how I feel like you're going to continue to transmute, changing, negative to positivities and getting through the challenges and transcending is getting past something, which ultimately to me is healing it, where it no longer holds power of you, where you now know that was just a moment in your life, that you no longer have to hold on to that story, that experience, that internalization. You can release it and know that does not define you, that you are a love, light, and a child of God, and that is all you are, or whatever else you choose to label yourself as that uplifts your spirit. You have the choice to say, I'm mighty, I'm strong. Look into I am affirmations. You choose what you want to be with those two words. You know what I'm saying? To be mindful. Like, once you put it out there, the universe is going to give you what you're asking for. So it's going to be work. But I always pray to heal with ease and grace. You know what I'm saying? Don't just say, I have this, or I'm conquering this, or I'm willing to heal, or I'm healing. Use progressive words that end with ing. I am loving. I'm open to receive love. I'm open to heal. All these things, you know what I'm saying? I am strong. I am brave. And so these are just things that I have used to cultivate my self-confidence, my self-worth, my self-esteem. And yeah, so that's all I want to say about that one. Don't be afraid to ask questions based on someone's response. It's better than assuming. You have to, Do what you got to do. Also, intrusive thoughts are basically like a last-ditch effort of the mind to try to bring you down whenever they see that you're doing good. They're going to throw something in. Let me throw these really gruesome, fearful thoughts into his head that usually brings them down. You know what? You say, oh, yeah, they used to work. You know what I mean? Talk to your mind. Like, I understand you're scared, but I got this. You can't bring me down. Sometimes you got to talk to your mind. Yeah, love conquers all, but sometimes you got to realize that your mind, the mind that we have, is not always good. And sometimes you do have to stand up to the bully. The mind can be the bully sometimes until you reprogram it and rewire it to be your biggest cheerleader and to gas you up. You know, the ego is good once you have healed it. You know what I'm saying? And once you gradually transmute these thoughts processes that's in your head, you know, the things that you used to think bad about yourself, once you heal and realize, oh, that don't faze me no more. Now you've transmuted it. So now, you know, that part of the ego, you've reestablished that sense of identity that's better for you. But in the meantime, when it's still just full of negative self-talk and full of these intrusive thoughts, which, you know, like thoughts that are, oh yeah, something bad's gonna happen to you, somebody finna come after you, somebody finna kill you. They could be as gruesome or as, you know, there's a spectrum. But what I'm saying is when they come up, just, you know, stand up to the bully. Like, you're just hurting. I understand. Like, I'm good, bro. You can chill. Like, that ain't finna hold me down no more. When that imposter syndrome come up, for all the pioneers, visionaries, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspirational people, the trailblazers, for these people who are stepping out and doing something different than, you know, than most people around them. Yes, you're gonna have a lot of imposter syndrome. You're gonna have things going like, man, you're crazy. What do you think you're doing? You're not valid. You don't know what you're talking about. Just keep telling yourself, you coming at me like that is assuring me that I know what I'm doing, because you know how they say, if you ain't got no enemies or no haters, you ain't doing something right. When you start to raise up and how can I say, better yourself and your life start looking good, that's when you start to get the most haters, because people can't be happy for you when they can't be happy for themselves. And that's the same way with the mind. My mind, in majority, I feel like the African American mind is not our cheerleader right now. It's that Massa mentality. It's that post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's that imposter syndrome. It's that strong inner critic. You have to think about ancestrally. If you just look at the theory, we've been beat down so much with words. Like, think about our ancestors when they were slaves, and their master was, you ain't no good, you this, you that, you did it. All this stuff we internalized. All that stuff we absorbed within our DNA. All that stuff we passed down to our kids, to our wife. When our master would come in and talk to us crazy, we go home and talk to the wife crazy. When the wife would get talked crazy about the woman in the household, about a master's wife, then she go home and yell it to her kids and talk to them crazy, and then the kids talk to their friends crazy, and then it becomes part of the culture. And this is how it's constantly being perpetuated and infiltrated through the intergenerational trauma. So just being mindful of those things. And like, to me, everybody don't have to go back to the ancestors. You could just look at yourself. You could just look at, man, he and my mom and my daddy talk to me crazy. Not saying this is me personally, but like, if you don't want to look back ancestrally, you can just reflect on your own childhood or your own experiences. Like, you know, my partners I always was bullied at school, or my friends always talked to me crazy, or I was always a pushover. I was always a person who was clowned or the butt of the joke, or my parents always talked to me like I was crazy. Imagine what that does to a young, impressionable child. You're like putty when you're a kid. You're like a Play-Doh being molded into whatever anyone else tells you. So if that's good things, you're going to be you're going to be molded to something good. If that's bad things, you're going to be molded to something bad, unless you just have some strong self-confidence. But if not, then you can end up with something known as the vacant esteem that, you know, Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about it in the post-traumatic slave syndrome. Like, you don't have any esteem. You feel like you have no value because everything that has been exposed to you has been socialized racism. Like, you can't make it. You never gonna succeed. You're a victim. The world is against you. All these things that are putting the idea already in your head. Your destiny is being predestined. Like, it's being handed to you, prescribed to you. And that's what I'm saying. Stop letting people who ain't never been sick prescribe stuff to you, and stop letting people who don't know your struggle tell you what you can do for yourself. You've made it this far. You can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so I want to talk about the subconscious part of the brain. And I think it's very important that you break down things for people who are in beginning stages of awakening to being more conscious and not in this autopilot sleep mode, being more not in this unconscious state, but being more consciously aware of the ability that they have choices and that they don't have to react through the subconscious programming. So that kind of goes right into what it is. The subconscious programming is the part of your brain that has absorbed every image, every experience, every feeling that you've acquired throughout your whole entire lifetime. And if you believe in past lives, through that too, or ancestral, or all that kind of stuff. So it's all of that it has absorbed through all of that. And so that is 95% of the brain that we use. The other 5% is the conscious, the prefrontal cortex. We don't have to get all technical about it, but basically like the front of the brain, and then you have the back of the brain. And you can kind of connect that to spirituality in a sense, because the conscious part is where located right behind where they say the third eye is and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. But basically, the subconscious is all of that programming, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. So your mom and your parents may be arguing, or a funny show, or a song, a raunchy song, or just a song in general, or a TV show, or a book you read, or any and everything. You passing by the street and you seeing these signs, you smelling barbecue cooking when you used to go to the country. I'm kind of picking up stuff from my own experience to kind of help me, and these things that kind of help us. This is why we have nostalgic memories, and this is why you can eat a dish and it kind of triggers that memory. It can pull up. This is why you can hear a sad song and it'll trigger those feelings, because we have associated the feelings with those thoughts. And so I was like, I'm driving, and I was thinking like, okay, how the brain, the subconscious is the mind in general is all about survival. So it's not that you should hate the mind, but sometimes you should be aware of it so you can conquer it. But the subconscious is based off of survival adaptations that we've had from, prehistoric or whatever, the past, when we were in a situation where we had to be more like aware of animals eating us or killing us, or more imminent danger type situations like that. So it can be a little irrational sometimes, because if the mind is associating certain memories or things with like danger, then it can throw off your reality. So say you ever been driving and you see a car, you notice a car behind you, and then you turn and they turn. And then you turn again and they turn. And you're like, okay, you can either go like, man, okay, are they following me or what? Like what's going on? And then it could be just something like that with attitude, or it could be something like, man, like, I don't know, it's kind of dark. Different scenarios, different environments can change it. Like, I don't know, are they trying to, follow after me? Let me see who's in there. I did just kind of get into it with somebody. Like, all these thoughts start running in your head, and this is the experience you have with the subconscious programming, because you're no longer able to see it and discern it and just use your better judgment and like detach from it, like, because you're in autopilot on it, you sleep on it, you're not conscious of it. Most people are not consciously aware of their subconscious or their egos or all of these other mental constructs that they have that make them paranoid, that make them anxious, that make them all of these other things. So instead of being like, you know what, that's just probably, that's just my subconscious, that's just my fears, and, or paranoia, or my anxiety, or depression, whatever. You're not detached from the mind now. Now you're letting the mind drive you, and you're not driving the mind. This is why I always talk about stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. And the act of staying ready and so you ain't got to get ready is being consciously aware. And the way you do that is by getting in the driver's seat and by being able to acknowledge that how the mind works, so that way that you can conquer it and be transformed. And just like, the quote, one of my good sis, Raquel Omitola, told me be ye transformed through the renewal of the mind. I never forgot that. And it is so true. I totally believe that you shouldn't be mind-centered, but the psyche in general, the mind, body, soul, mind, body, spirit compilation is all interconnected. And the things that we've experienced do affect how we think. So the body and the feelings and emotions, they hold the trauma and they hold everything, but the mind interprets it. So you have to be able to, your mind is kind of like your roadmap. Your feelings and your thoughts are like your roadmap. So whenever you're having these thoughts, you're able to now detach from them and be able to say, okay, you know, that's not me. You know, that's just the way my mind is working right now. That's just something that has triggered me to think, oh, this is something bad or something scary, because generally the mind is more centered to go towards negative because, like I said, it's out of survival. But just because something's out of survival and they're doing things out of protection, how many of us has ever had a friend that will go to bat for us, but you know, later on in life we think about them later and like, man, that girl was, I ain't gonna lie, she'll fight for anything, but she low-key throw it off, like she was gonna do some dumb stuff, or you know, she wasn't very rational. It's kind of like that. You're like, yes, you may feel like you have their best interest, or yes, you may love a person but not be showing it in a loving way, or your actions are not very loving, because you have to reparent what true love and true protection is. And it doesn't always mean instilling you with so much fear and so much caution that you are not even able to move, that you're paralyzed and debilitated through your thoughts and through your fears, not even able to take a step, not even being able to take a risk or take a chance and do something that may help you grow. Because like I said, the mind and the ego interprets any form of change as bad. So imagine that, like, if you just steadily stayed in your autopilot, these patterns and these cycles that you've learned and acquired through your childhood and through your parenting and through all of these things that you've gained knowledge from, you know, through your how can I say, your secretive conversation with your boys or your secretive conversation with your girls, all of these things that are fueling you with other people's perspectives, and you know, and you're not even trying to center and get to know your own spirit to see what you really want for yourself. Never even asking yourself these questions of what do I want, you know, or how do I want to think? And it's as simple as things that we don't even think about. But so yeah, it's like, you have to be able to detach from that and recognize when your subconscious programming and conditioning is popping in, when your ego is coming online, and the ego kind of teeters it back and forth from, like, I believe it's your unconscious and your subconscious or whatever. But the point is, it creates a sense of self from that programming that you have. So if you were programmed to feel like as a boy you can't show any sign, I'm gonna just say as a black person you can't show any signs of weakness, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, all of that, what's gonna happen now? Now every time you feel these types of emotions that you would perceive mean you're weak, if you feel sad, if you feel pain, if you feel sickness, if you feel any of this, what do now? You repress it. And if you have it, and because of us, we're so engulfed in trauma, and none of our emotions or feelings feel like they can be validated in this world. We don't feel safe or comfortable expressing them. What do? We repress them. And what is depression? Like I say, depression is a repression of self. So because you don't feel comfortable expressing your emotions, because the subconscious has conditioned you with this experience that is weak, and society continues to perpetuate it in the media and TV, showing these images of that is weak in your community, and people who are ignorant, and, you know, sorry to say, that's ignorance. You know, they continue to perpetuate, nigga, you lame, you weak, bro, what you crying for? Or what? Or girl, like, girl, I don't care about him. What I'm gonna cry for? All this ignorant stuff. So now your ego has created an identity. Oh, I don't cry over this person. Or I don't show my emotions in a way. Or as a man, I can only show that I care about a person through rage. I don't know how to show it through a softness, through a sweetness. Or as a woman, you like, I don't know how to show that I care about a person through nothing but attitude, or, you know, because these are defense mechanisms. So the ego is known for creating these defense mechanisms because they hide and mask the wounds of the trauma that you felt. Because when you were a kid, being told those things, you internalized them, or even seeing them. You may not have been told them, but seeing that from, maybe seeing another kid get yelled at for being this way, you internalize everything. Like I said, your mind is like a recorder, just reels going in, or like a file cabinet, just downloading, or like a computer downloading information. So anything you've ever seen, a TV show, as a kid, you're impressionable. So you internalize all this stuff and you process it in your way. And so now you internalize that as bad. So you create these defenses your ego creates these defensive. The ego comes online and is created out of a sense of protection. When you feel like you have nowhere to go for refuge or for survival or for safety, it creates the sense of identity to protect you. So that's why I say the ego is not fully bad, but I feel like the black ego has different aspects of it. Like I talk about the Massa Mentality, but we're not on to that. But so, like I said, you create the defenses based on that wound, when really deep down that comes from that wounded inner child. And I am going to do specific videos on how I kind of have recognized my inner child, recognized my ancestral roots, recognize my Massa Mentality, recognize my post-traumatic slave syndrome, recognize my anxiety, my paranoias. These are things that you have to do to start to understand the mind. Yes, it could be a lot, and there are ways to get to it without necessarily getting straight into the analytical side of it. But all you have to know now is that you are not your thoughts. You have the right to choose what you allow in your reality. So if a thought that you have makes you feel like you're being paranoid, makes you feel you're anxious, make you feel like you're being fearful, makes you feel like you're being hateful, judgmental, but don't look at them from a place of judgment. Know that they're coming from a wounded place. Know that they're coming from a hurt place, and comfort that. Just become the observer and watch it. And I do have a blog. If you follow the link on my website, the link is in this app, on the Anchor, the podcast app. So you can click the link for my website and look at the ego work for the Black soul. I'm actually kind of revising it, and I will update it, but it's still a good start for you to read it right now. And that kind of helps do a lot of the steps that you can do to recognize the ego and be able to dismantle it and rebuild it. Or some people say that you dissolve it altogether, but I don't know if I really want to dissolve it. I want some sense of self. We all want interconnectivity. We want to relate. We're not gurus out here who can just be secluded from everybody in the world. So we do want that relatability and that connectivity. But you can rebuild it to become that motivator, because like I said, the ego is not a bad, it's your sense of self. So you want to fill it with things that empower you. You want to have a sense of self that cultivates self-love, cultivates compassion, empathy, all these positive things in your mind. But be aware that anything you do that becomes changing and bettering yourself, it doesn't matter how good it is. It's like the mind that has narcissism in it, and any change is like you're leaving that toxic relationship. So by, how can I say, letting the ego transform and die so that it can transform, it will have resistance. It will fill your mind with thoughts that will make you resist the dying of that ego, because it knows that its life is temporary, whereas the soul and the spirit is forever, long lasting. So it's trying to stay present as long as it can, but it can stay present, but it can be renewed and have a more empowering stance to keep your spirit liberated and keep you going. You did not come on this earth to be anyone's slave, anyone's puppet, or endure so much pain and trauma. We've already endured a lot of that, so I just wanted to kind of like talk about that, because I was really just brainstorming and driving and just thinking about the subconscious, and everybody should kind of get an idea of what the subconscious is and how it runs on these patterns of, the things that you've done all your life, and why you keep ending up in, the same types of relationships, or why you keep having the same kind of issues with your girlfriends or your partners, or, why you keep having turmoil with your family members, or, things that just become repetitive, and life and time is circular. So it just keeps going over and over and over, and you keep repeating and falling to the same patterns. And this is why I don't believe in running away from situations. Sometimes people want to just run away from relationships, and it's like you have to figure out what is that relationship trying to teach you, and sometimes it's how can you heal it, and because you think leaving that relationship and going right to another one without taking any accountability is going to prevent you from falling back in. You're going to repeat those same patterns. Trust me. I've been through it. So I'm telling you this out of experience, and it's okay to have resistance, but be aware of all of the defenses of the ego. Be aware of the stubbornness, the judgment, the ridicule, because if you think about that wounded ego, when someone is telling you everything you've been doing is dysfunctional or wrong or traumatic, your first instinct is to be on the defense. Like, bro, what you saying? What you mean, bro? What you talking about? Like, bro, I'm good. I've been fine. Look at me. I'm good. I'm fine right now. But the thing is, black people been awakening all their lives. But you can tell how much they're in turmoil, how much their mind is resisting it by how deeply they are into their coping mechanisms. They're into their defense mechanisms. They're into their addictions. All of these things are keeping them so numb, keeping their spirits and their souls so oppressed and numb, because their mind is trying to prevent them from actually excelling. So that's why I say sometimes fasting, sometimes detoxing, doing spiritual baths, or just, warm baths that you, and just get in there and meditate and think and contemplate and pray, and, for change, and writing, journaling. These things help you open up the way to do the work. But you have to have the will. You have to have the will to heal. You have to want a better future. You have to know that you can do better, and your life does not have to be riddled with addictions, substance abuse, toxicity, codependency, all of these things, compulsive eating, emotional eating, all of these things that you're using to kind of cope. Now, don't take this as all of these things you should start judging either, because take yourself and love yourself from where you are. I have a lot of these things, but I accept them, and I know that I'm working through them little by little. Spirituality is nothing to be binged. It's nothing to try to, in one fell swoop, try to change it all. You need to pray and set those intentions to do things with ease and grace. One thing at a time. Don't overdo it, and it's gonna come in time. All it takes is the intention. That intention and that prayer is enough. Once you get that ball rolling, everything is gonna happen in divine time. Just let it flow. Let the things unfold. Let the things unravel, and trust and have faith. For me, I have faith in God. I believe a foundation without faith won't fail. So that is my belief. Everyone has their right to believe what they want to believe, but that's what sustains me. God's love is what sustains me. But yes, so I just want to kind of explain that. If there's more questions, I do have an open forum. You can leave comments. So I believe, I'm not sure if my email's on there, but like I said, there's a way that you can put comments where I can see it, and I will respond if you have questions about what something else is or an issue that you're going through. I want to create a community where we can all start to come together and collectively heal and feel safe doing it in whatever way we feel fit to, So we need a place without guilt, without shame, without judgment, because those things are roadblocks to healing. They are roadblocks because they only fuel you with more judgment. That's why I always say become the observer of self without judgment. And I am going to be very repetitive and redundant because, like I said, the mind always needs that. It's a pattern, right? It needs a consistency. Just like I always say, sometimes you have to try a diet for like 30 to 90 days, or you need to work out for at least 30 to 90 days to see results. Your body and your system needs time for adjustment. There's an adjustment period. There's a transformation period. There's a transitioning period. You can't expect to snap your fingers and say, oh, I'm going vegan. I'm going vegan cold turkey. Some people can, but for a majority of people, we cannot, and that is okay. Don't judge yourself on that. Start off little by little. Maybe, okay, I can take pork out. I don't eat that anyway. Now I can take milk out. I never really like milk. Now I don't really eat eggs. I can take that out. Do little by little. Everything is about intention. You're doing things to better yourself. You're doing things to make your body feel good. You're doing things to feel happier, healthier, and well, holistically. And so these are things that I want to do, but I want to keep it short because I don't want to keep all my videos so long. So I'm just going to end it here, guys. But just know I love you. We're going to be all right. You know, I took a hiatus because I've been going through my own, you know, battling with my own depressions and my own energies and releasing these things and my subconscious program and reprogramming all this. But, you know, I'm here and I'm human and I'm not pretending to be a perfectionist or whatever. That's why I started off with the podcast. I will eventually get to YouTube videos, but I'm giving myself that opportunity to not feed that perfectionism that I have. Perfectionism is a diseased illusion. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. But anyway, guys, all right, bye. Do you ever feel paranoid or okay, that kind of was in the wrong order. Do you ever feel jealous and of others or paranoid that others are jealous of you? And sometimes, well, first of all, I want to say this. Jealousy is something that's common. Like, we need to normalize that. Everybody feels some level of jealousy sometimes. And envy. These are all adaptations of the mind. You know, I always try to look at the mind or the brain as like, it's that, like I said, it's that part of your spirit that's insecure, that it may be that inner child, it may be that ancestral, that slave trait, you know, coming from that deeply wounded space where something may have happened to you that made you feel this way or inferior, or we already know what made us black people feel inferior and what constantly is making us feel inferior. But, you know, it's coming from this deep space of insecurity. And a lot of times, you know, with the whole crabs in a barrel, this idea that you got to climb over other people to get to the top, or there's not enough room at the top because of all the programming that we've had instilled in us, it makes us feel like we're in competition with each other. When Earth is a fruitful place, it's full of opportunities and there is no limit. It's limitless. It's a planet of creation. We're created here, and you can create whatever you want. You can manifest, as you know, they use in the spiritual community, anything you want. And it's okay that sometimes your mind has jealous thoughts, but you have to detach from that. That's part of that Massa mentality, you know, competing with your brother and sister. And when I say brother and sister, I don't mean literally, but it could be. But it's just more like your people, and feeling like, you know, you may have these thoughts that everybody's passing you up, or look at such and such and such and such, and look at them, they done got them a house, or look at her, she's starting her own business, and look at her, she making moves, and oh, look, she just graduated. And these things may trigger that insecurity within yourself, that inferiority within yourself, those wounded spaces of you feeling less than or unworthy or self-doubt or imposter. It can trigger a lot of these emotions. And the emotions, like I said, the mind is the interpreter of your emotions. So because someone has created some kind of success in their life, that event triggered your emotions, and those emotions within your body triggered, or within your body or your spirit triggered your mind to interpret those as, you know, look at them, they think they all that, or it could be the opposite of, man, I'm never gonna achieve nothing, I'm not doing nothing fast enough. All these things that the ego creates, that Massa mentality that holds you down, that is nothing but a bully sometimes. And you know, it's just like that Massa in your ear, that master in your ear yelling at you, barking things down to keep your spirit down and making you feel unmotivated, taking away your will, taking away that free will, taking away that your spirit, oppressing your spirit, keeping you down, keeping your feelings down to the point where you can't even, now you don't even want to try, because it's like, man, everybody passing me up. That's you comparing and competing too much. Like I said, everybody's journey is on a whole different timeline than yours. You don't have to go with everybody's timeline. What happens for them and what falls for them is for them. And sometimes you're trying to follow somebody's footsteps and you don't even know what they feet. You're trying to be in somebody's shoes and you don't even know what their feet look like underneath those shoes. You don't know how many miles they've walked. You don't know how many bunions and corns they have. This is all symbolic talk, basically saying like, be careful what you wish for and the life that you want, because you don't even know if this is just a facade, a persona that they're perpetrating. And yeah, they may have the house and the job, but inside that household, you don't know what's going on. So this is why I say I say all this just to say that focus on you. And it's okay if those thoughts come up. Just look at, okay, I'm feeling these jealous thoughts. Or, my mind is having these jealous thoughts. Take the place of the observer, of the watcher of self. This is the more higher self, the self that has the confidence, that has the self-love and the self-acceptance. Not the lower version of yourself, which is, the self-doubt and the insecurities, which are fine too. You accept all aspects of you. But it's just knowing that sometimes you got to step into that higher self and look and just observe and be like, okay, that's just, I'm having these jealous thoughts. They're not me. They're not the true essence of me, but it's okay. I'm going to see what this is about. Okay, I'm feeling a little jealous because somebody's passing me up, or somebody's getting these accolades, or getting these degrees, or getting this financial stability, and I want that. Okay, that's what it is. I want that. I want that aspect of that. I want that or more. And you can always set those intentions, pray to God and be like, God, I want what they have or more or better. You know what I mean? Or, I want something that makes me happy, or don't ask for what other people have. Ask for what you want. Ask God to lead you to what is right for you and what, fulfills your spirit and your soul and your destiny, But these are just little things to help you feel like, to first of all, have accountability. Because a lot of times we go through life and we act like we don't have these thoughts and these things are running through our head. And that's why they fester and get bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where you're resenting people and you don't even like people because they're successful. And that's when you really get stuck in those, oh, they doing the most, or they think they all that, or they bougie. No, really, because you really want that life. And you can't be real with yourself. That hater voice is not you. That hater voice is a reaction, a triggered reaction from some aspect of you that's hurting, some aspect of you that's insecure, some aspect of you that wants some part of what they got. And that's okay. It's okay to look at somebody and say, ooh, I want that. I want that. I want a nice house like that. I want a nice car like that. I want to be able to pay my bills and not have to worry about being check to check. What is wrong with wanting an easier, better life? But don't lose sight of the things that are priceless too. Continue to ground in gratitude and be grateful for what you got for right now, knowing that you're working towards what you want, as far as more. But yeah, I just want to kind of destigmatize and normalize and let you know how common these thoughts and these feelings are. It is normal to feel all feelings, for one. But just knowing how to detach from them and not allowing them to rule or control the way you think and the way you behave. Just allow it to come up, allow it to surface, observe your thoughts like clouds in the sky, detach from them and just be like, okay, so I'm thinking this, all right, I must be feeling a little hurt right now, my spirit a little hurt, I'm a little hurt, that's all right, we gonna get through it. But yeah, like seriously, you just gotta figure it out. But yeah, that's all. Oh, also I forgot to mention about the jealousy. So from the perspective of feeling like other people may be jealous of you, maybe they are. Because what you have to realize, you're not the only one walking around with this Massa mentality. And just you have to have compassion for these people too, and know that, they're battling things too. And a lot of times they're not even aware of it. So they're just really stuck in this reactive state of jealousy and resentment. And a lot of times, especially as we're all waking to a lot of these good ideas and this ancestral DNA that we have, we feel like people are copying us or taking our ideas. But what we don't realize is we are one mind. So a lot of this information is circulating through everybody. And if you don't use it, you lose it. Somebody else is going to pick it up. Because at the end of the day, God has a plan for this information to be out in the world. And if you don't take the responsibility and do something with it, then somebody will. And it's not to say that they're copying you. And a lot of times we're interconnected through that DNA. A lot of the stuff ideas my mom and my grandmother and my sisters and my cousins have, we be having the same ideas. You know why? Because we all share a same smidgets of DNA. that stuff is passed down to us. We have the same mind in a sense. We have the same interests. We have a lot of the same similarities, even down to like, oh, we all of our favorite color is purple or something, or all of us love pineapples and watermelon bananas, like, and just certain little things, or we all like this type of music. And it's like, not because we listen to it around each other, or not because it was conditioning, but because we literally, there's some things that we're connected with through DNA, and we haven't actually been physically exposed to it firsthand, you know? So just knowing that sometimes it's not that someone's copying you, it's just that they have the same ideas of you. That's you think out of all them people in this world that you're literally the only one that has this idea. No. You have to let go of that and stop resenting people. And, you know, people who do feel jealousy, sometimes it's also because you're doing something that they didn't get a chance to do. You know, maybe a parent I don't want to say low key because it sounds like shysty, but just kind of somewhat do have feelings of jealousy of their child because their child may be conquering dreams and fulfilling dreams that they always wish they were able to do. And that is okay for them to feel like that, and don't hate them because they have these feelings. Sometimes they need to hear this from themselves as a parent. If you're a parent out there and, you know, you're looking at your child with some feelings of envy or jealousy or resentment because they're being able to do things that you didn't get a chance to do, you know, use them as motivation. Use them as fuel. It's never too late. I may go back to school and try to get my PhD in psychology. I'm 30-something years old. Do I feel like, man, I'm old? Yes. But do you know how many old psychologists there is? And you just have to know that age is nothing but a number unless you make it more than that. And so don't feel discouraged. Don't let that hate get into your heart, because like I said, these lower emotions like resentment, hate, they're fine to honor for a time being, but release those because you got things to do. And those emotions don't do nothing but hold you down. They don't lift your spirit up. But yeah, that's all. Hey y'all, a few things this morning. So I'm getting up, you know, detangling my hair and doing my son's hair, and getting ready for his potty party. But I had a couple things in my mind. One, we gotta stop over researching stuff. Are you a hypochondriac? I got those tendencies. So we are. Hey, shush. Sorry guys, that was my son. He came here and I said, buddy, I'm doing my work. He said, what are you talking about? Fart? And I said, no. He said, poop? I said, no. He said, peep? I said, no. Well, maybe it's like about pottying, being a mommy, doing other stuff. And he said, oh. Kids are funny, I swear, man. But anyway, he said that because he just finished pee-peeing on the potty. But, you know, so over information, you know, like when you feeling like you got a little sniffle or you got a headache or you got this and that, and you start going on YouTube University or Google. I'm trying to figure out think of a word that starts with a G for Google. But yeah, I don't know, Google something. But the point of it is that I don't know if it's a subconscious or I'm just going to use mine, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a historian. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person living through life who is giving you firsthand experience from things. And that's all I can do. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. I'm not pretending to know things I don't. I just do my research and live by example. And that's all I'm trying to give y'all, like real stuff, and not just, oh, let me give you a bunch of information that I never even tried or that I don't even, you know, have exposure to, which is good too, because, you know, content has to be out there. But, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to give you my experience. So the mind doesn't really know, the subconscious particularly doesn't really know reality from fake. So if you looking at all this stuff, oh, you have this flesh-eating bacteria, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And your body starts going in this hyper, you know, fight or flight type of mode, this hyper stress mode, then you're reacting to it as if it's true. And so you can actualize stuff, because say, how can I say this? If you start reading symptoms of a disease, right? your mind will start making you feel like you actually do have that. And I don't know if that's like a placebo effect or whatever, but it's just like the more you expose to yourself, the more it's harder to get that out of your head that is not what it is. And so you're going to always constantly go back. That's why they say your mind creates your reality, because say you're reading research on when your man does this, that means he's cheating on you. And so now every time your man goes to the bathroom with his phone, because this research article said every time your man goes to the bathroom with their phone, they're cheating on you. And for some people, you may think, oh, that's dumb. But some people, and I'm included, we do internalize things a little bit deeper, because in this day and age, we don't know what's fact and what's fiction or what's manipulation or whatever. So a person may feel like, dang. And even if they like, I don't really believe that, it's in your mind so deeply now that you kind of can't really get that thought out your head. Even if now you got to rationalize every time you have that thought cross your head. You just got to say, oh, that's just because I read that article. Or that's because of this. I got to give it the benefit of the doubt. Or I got to ask if I really want to see. I need to just open and have these conversations. Like I said, the best way to get out of your head is always to just speak and ask and not assume. Assuming is the devil. That's my other little coin phrase, because it's true. Because you're always assuming the worst. And that worst case scenario, that adaptation of my black mind comes out. Another one I was going to say is, if you're potty training your child, these are my random rants, y'all. So I'm going to do a prelude. All of my series will have a prelude starting, I don't know when, but I'm going to gradually start adding preludes. So that way you can watch that first and have an understanding of what each series is going to kind of encompass. So you can kind of know, is this something I got to read every segment, or I can just kind of go out of order and go listen to whatever I want to listen to based on the little title. Because this series is going to be about random rants, a complaining corner, basically somewhere where I can just complain about dumb little stupid stuff that happens in my life. Like Kroger's changing them bags to them old hard bags. They know black folks use grocery bags for everything. Come on, I can't use them. I can't do my condition treatments. I can't use them for trash bags in the bathroom. I can't use them for to-go plates. But anyway, but also if you potty training your child, don't feel discouraged if they have accidents and like you feel like they're regressing, especially for circumstances for if they have a tummy ache, or if they're not feeling well, or there's some kind of pain going on. Because see, the thing about children is that, like I said, they haven't been conditioned to do anything that represses themselves yet, because to fit in, or to look normal, or to look civilized, or have home training. So they don't know how to repress their body. If they have diarrhea or something, they're gonna let it out. They're not taught to clench, repress this bodily function. No, diarrhea is something better out than in. People look at bodily functions as bad, even when they seem bad. Like diarrhea, it's a good sign. The reason probably isn't good, but it's good that you're getting it out. It's better than just having those toxic products or matter or whatever you want to call it in your body. So throwing up poop, diarrhea, all that stuff. I'm sorry, this is a kind of for some people, they may be like, ugh, I hope you're not eating. I should probably make that disclaimer, but everything I do is raw, real, and uncut. So I always know you may not want to be eating when you listen to one of my things. But yeah, just know that because I say this because my son had like 2 accidents. He came home with a pull-up 2 days in a row, and a diaper, because they still have diapers from when he was using them. And I was like, and it was like, well, yeah, he had an accident during nap time. For 1, he was asleep. For 2, it was diarrhea. And so I was like, okay, that's okay. But the first aspect of me, that perfectionist side, was like, dang, I'm finna sit up here and have a potty party, and he up here don't even seem potty trained. I'm like, that's kind of embarrassing. But I'm like, then I had to let go and say, me and my husband started making jokes, and he was like, shoot, look, you gonna have a freaking potty party. He gonna be on the head. That boy done went to the bathroom about 5 times. He done had about 5 accidents at the potty party. And sometimes you just gotta laugh through stuff, even, when it makes you feel a little nervous or embarrassed or ashamed or whatever. But I was like, he a kid, and I'm gonna explain that, shoot. he's potty trained because he goes independently, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have accidents. It's as a human, it's like there's this perfectionism still underlying. Like, just because you're potty trained doesn't mean you're not going to have accidents. That's why they're called accidents, or that's why things are called mistakes. Just because you have achieved a level of expertise or skill does not mean you're not going to fall and slip up at time to time. And it's the same thing with children. We hold children to a very high standard. Like, think about it. We're training them on so many things at once. Do this, do that, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. And that's why I didn't pressure him so much. And I'm still not going to pressure him. If he starts backsliding and he starts back having more accidents, I don't care. I'm still having this potty party because I'm still showing him I'm proud of what he's done so far, thus far. And that's how you got to let go and not be so worried about the image or what people are going to say or what people are going to think or whatever. And so I just want to kind of put that out there for anybody who, kind of beats themselves up when things don't seem like they're going right, or like, dang, he would start having accidents right before the potty party, or dang, I would start doing this right before I'm about to do this. Like, when those fluke things happen, like, really, bro? Really? Now you want to start cutting up, or now you want to start this, or now this is happening. Now, all those, like, now, so, like y'all, like, I'm going to go back to that. So what now what? What you gonna do about it? You gonna make that beat your spirit down and bring it down and just stop in your path and make you want to give up? Or you just gonna be like, F it? Sometimes you gotta say, fuck it. But yeah, I stole it from my husband friend. But yeah, you just gotta say, fuck it, and just do you, and just keep going and let it roll off your shoulders. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little prelude so y'all can know what all's gonna go into this series of random rants and complaining and conscious conversations and like old school tips, new school tips, things that, how they always say things your mama didn't teach you, or not your mama's this, or not. Well, I'm going back to things my mama did tell me, and my things my grandmother did tell me. All these types of things that I grew up learning from that old school mentality that I feel like we losing in this, these new generations that's coming up, and these youngsters out there. If you listening, you 18, 16, 20 something, really, you should be listening to my page too. I feel like this podcast is for all ages, because I have so much spirit in me, so much diversity in who I am. Like, I can hang with the young ones if I want to. I can hang with the old folks if I want to. I have so much older wisdom, but I have so much knowledge and empathy for youth, because I haven't forgotten what it was like to be young and to be impressionable. And so it's like, y'all need to, I'm trying to put y'all up on game, man. But like the real game, not to manipulate but just a game to survive out there. These tools that you need to kind of keep going through, pushing through all of the negative and dense energies that surround us. And, just that trying to uplift y'all, whatever. Well, as always, I love y'all. Peace out. Keep God first. Adaptations of the Black Mind. This series is going to be about ways that I feel like, as Black people, our perspective, based on my personal perspective as a Black woman. And the first one I want to get into is, don't get so caught up in the what ifs and worst case scenario thinking. This survival adaptation, I feel like, is good sometimes, but when it's fueling like fear and anxiety without any real discernment, which is like good judgment based on a person or a situation's track record, like you have something to go upon, not just your imagination or your negative assuming, aka the devil, like I always say, then you need to reevaluate, because like I always say, the good thing about a thought is it can be changed. And you don't want to base your life around, but what if though? And that goes in anything. That goes in relationships of all kinds, friends, family members, like making new friends, family members, in your relationships, playing it safe because you're afraid of what that person may do, or if they may hurt you, based on your own past trauma and the wounds around that. Yeah, you can play safe, but one thing I learned is keeping your heart closed and not protected anymore from being hurt than keeping it open and giving things a try. You know, that vulnerability is powerful, and it doesn't mean go out here and just lay it all out, but it does mean allow the opportunity for love to flow into your life as well as you flow out. You know, just having faith and holding on to that. When you have God walk with you in every step that you take, so that you know that you're protected and that anything that does happen is out of your hands anyway, and that was part of God's will. And just find solace in that. You know, knowing that whatever does happen, if it does turn out to be perceived as negative or bad, it's not a punishment. It's just part of your journey and part of the lesson that you need to learn for a bigger purpose. Yeah, we go through trials and tribulations, but what I'm learning is that those things empower us. It helps build the resilience. And I do believe that God gives us toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Not to say if your life was just easy, you're not a strong soldier, but I'm just saying what don't kill you make you stronger. And I am a true testament to that. I've been through a lot for my age. And it shows, and my heart has not gotten to the point where I don't care about people, where I don't want to continue to help people. And so I say that just to say, don't let your mind stay in that driver's seat. You are the driver. Get in the driver's seat, put the mind in the back, and allow it to speak when you give it permission. It's everything is about you using it and controlling it, not it using you and controlling you. That goes for anything. The music you listen to, the shows you watch, the people you hang around. And when I say use, I don't mean, you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't allow things to impact your life in a negative way. What you allow to happen to you is your control. And what is out of your control is in God's hands. So you always protect it. Don't feel like you between a rock and a hard place. Reframe that, change that perspective, and gain your power back. Well, all right, guys, that's it for that what ifs and that worst case scenario thinking, that survival mentality that fuels fear and anxiety. As always, someone who cares, the spiritual activist, peace, love, light, and healing energies. Be open to receiving them. Keep God first. Love you guys. Peace out. So as we collectively awaken, I feel like because it's kind of like a mass awakening, I kind of feel like a lot of us are on the same wave. Like I actually can pinpoint when at one point I feel like the divine feminine energy was awakening and a lot of women were uprising and but with that, you have to understand as well not to take it and run with it and to not let someone manipulate that because they know what's coming. Some people can see what is awakening before other people and they can manipulate that and manipulate you based on that fragility that you're into as that energy is awakening within you. So like right now, I feel like what's awakening is as the ego and the mental constructs start to crumble, different things about how the ego has formed are coming out. And I know distrust and the demonization of spirituality, I feel like it's coming to head right now. And that's kind of what's awakening in a lot of people. And I know that we do see the manipulation, but I don't want this to fuel that distrust, fuel that lack of faith, fuel that lack of what am I looking for? The words the paranoia. I don't want it to fuel those things because it's like, yeah, be stay ready so you don't got to get ready and be precautious, but not to the point where it causes you anxiety, not to the point where it causes you fear, because anything that causes fear and anxiety is detrimental and is not something you should harbor onto. So if feeling like this person's manipulating you, this person you can't trust them, da, da, da. If that's fueling fear and paranoia in you, release it, reframe it, try to find solace and comfort and faith and trust in the universe. All say this with me: I am safe. I am divinely guided and protected at all times. I am safe. I am divinely guided and protected at all times. Breathe it in, breathe it out. You know, do protection work if you feel like it, or just knowing that God is always protecting you. Because, yes, this world has a lot of dense energy. The earth is an energy of density, but that doesn't mean that you have to be consumed by it. By overthinking of it, that will consume you. Because, like I said, your mind is your reality. So you can either choose to live in your mind, or you can choose into live into the real reality, not the false reality. The false reality is in your mind. You can choose to live in that. Unless you've created a sanctuary in your mind, then I suggest you not live in that and you live into the present moment. Because the past and the present, the past and the future does not exist only through memory of the past and fear or imagination of the future. The present moment is where it's at. The present moment is the heaven on earth. Looking at the little things, going out into nature and seeing the clouds, or even when it's a rainy day, being able to see the beauty in that, hearing the beautiful sound of the water hitting the pavement, hearing the sound of the cars rushing by on the road with that whooshing sound of when it's rain. Like, those are moments of bliss. When you know, when you've had that experience, you've had that experience of heaven on earth. Heaven on earth is when you've elevated your vibration to a place of pure bliss. That's what I'm in seek of. That's what I am in pursuit of. Peace, bliss, harmony, compassion, love, ecstasy, those types of energies. Not worry, fear, stress, distrust, paranoia, conspiracy. It's fine to be aware of those things, but if they're fueling fear to you, if they're fueling paranoia to you, then you're fighting for a cause, but you're honestly falling back into the trap of distraction again. You're falling back into the trap of being in density again. If that's your journey and that's your calling, fine. But I'm going to do my activism from a place of peace, from a place of calm, from a place of security. It's okay to feel scared, but don't identify as a fearful person. Reflect on those fears and identify them so that you can detach from them and, like, oh, that's just my fears talking. Oh, that's just my paranoia. Oh, that's just my distrust. And for Black people, we have a lot of ancestral traits attached to those. You have to think about, what people went through centuries of oppression. They've been in survival mode all their life. Worst case scenario is part of their natural mental construct. So it's like, as those constructs are being broken down, then you're able to detach from them as you become the observer of self, of the observer of yourself. So I'm just saying all this to say, as things awaken within you, as we collectively awaken, don't let it consume you. Still be in the driver's seat. Don't let energies consume you. Don't let thoughts consume you. Don't let emotions consume you. Don't let feelings consume you unless they're consuming you in a way of positivity, consuming you in a way of love, light, and healing energy, concealing you in positivity, peace, things that will actually serve you and your highest self, your highest good. This dense stuff, that's not ever going to serve you. So just keep that in mind as we collectively awaken and as the energies continue to shift. That will keep you centered and that will keep you grounded, and that'll be able to lasso you back to yourself. Whenever you feel like you floating away and losing yourself again, click, remember, oh, okay, what is this? What could this be? All right, it's not me though. I'm loving light, baby. That's it. Yes, I have human experiences, but do I choose to identify with the human experiences? No. Do I choose to identify with the human feelings? No. Do I choose to identify with the human emotions? No. Do I choose to identify with the human thoughts? No. You're allowed to feel, think, have any emotion that you want, have any thought that you want, but just observe them from a non judgmental, non shameful, non guilty perspective. Look at them like clouds in the sky or waves in the ocean. Just let them come and go. Feel them, reflect on them, release them. And that's all I have to say right now because, I feel like we're going through an awakening of of manipulation and awakening of the demonization of spirituality and, spiritual practices and metaphysical practices, and we're awakening to the distrust that our egos have and the paranoia that our egos have, and all of these other dense feelings. So as you're maneuvering through these feelings, reflect on them. Think about what in your childhood could have brought these. Think about what in your ancestral traits could have brought these. Release these, knowing that they are not you, that they do not define you, and free yourself from that density. Free yourself. Transmute that negative energy so that you can transcend past the paranoia, transcend past the distrust, transcend past the um, guilt and shame for your spiritual practices, for your belief systems. But I'll wrap it up, and as always, sending you love, light, and healing energy. Be open to receiving it. Peace, love, and light. My solution seeker, someone who cares, a spiritual activist. I love you guys. Peace out. Ladies, leave that nonchalant nigga alone. The one that tries to keep you hanging on their coattails to stroke their ego, and they just give you playing hard to get, and acting like you're lucky to have them, and just being dry, or like, why you sweating me, and they want to act like they ain't sweating you. Nonchalant energy is another form of a defense mechanism. Don't fall for it. Their self-worth and self-love is just as probably low as yours. To heal, especially for the Black community, healing energies and spirits, like, my spiritual perspective is that, yes, I do believe, like, personality traits like narcissism, nonchalant behavior, that kind of stuff is like a spirit or energy, or like, having mental illnesses or like energetic imbalances. But I try to give practical solutions instead of, just like the solutions that are more like spiritual based, in a sense, like, energy healing and that kind of sense. I try to do energy healing in more of a practical way, because I feel like we are in a physical world and people want physical, tangible, or actionable solutions versus like, oh, just close your eyes and do this prayer. I mean, do this meditation, or put your hands on your heart, and not taking away from anybody who does that, because maybe for them it works, because belief is everything. That's the real power. But I'm trying to come from a perspective of, I know how us as Black people we are, and what we need. We need meaning. We need tangible, meaningful solutions coming from a place of compassion and empathy. So I am going to be breaking down a lot of these, I feel like, personality traits that we develop living in this society who's always making us feel like we're never enough, and just going through some intense low self-worth and vacant esteem and low self-love, even vacant self-love. And so a lot of these personality traits develop, and they come and mess up the whole foundation of our family system and structures. And my life coaching is geared towards a family and marriage and, committed couple, divine partnership type aspect. The people who have children, who have long-term relationships, who really want to choose their family over the single life or whatever. Not saying that anything's wrong with that, but like I said, my focus and concentration is on family, marriage, and those type of interpersonal relationships. But yeah, that's kind of a little prelude to something else I want to start getting into. My podcast is all about awareness, and like I always say, you stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. So in this podcast, I want to talk about growing up in a society where you feel like you're never enough, where you feel like no matter how hard you try, someone else will be able to get the reward just based on their skin color. So it's almost like, why bother? Why work 10 times harder to just be either at the same level or still below a person with no justification, no validity, no reason other than a color of a person's skin. These narratives that we're told as children that are that to me are detrimental to our spirit, because it's like, why bother? It's like, dang, if I got to work this hard, it's almost like you just want to give up. It's like you don't even know how to start, because What if you're not given the tools where you're able to work 10 times harder? What if you don't have that kind of spirit or that motivation to be in that grind mode, to be tapped into that more divine masculine energy, where you're a go-getter, where you just, more assertive? What if your spirit is very insecure and things like that do nothing but weigh you down even more? And so with that, I feel like it has, I talk about adaptations of a black mind, and my black mind, and obviously I'm talking about mine. I don't know what everybody else's mind is, but like I say, we all cut from the same cloth, and a lot of people are going to be able to relate to a lot of the things that I say. So I speak in general, but I'm speaking from my perspective, obviously. But I want to get into something that I call perfection obsession and perfection phobia. Now, perfection obsession is when you basically it's going with that narrative that you're never enough, to where it's like everything. When society has a Eurocentric standard of beauty, a Eurocentric standard of everything, you're always subconsciously comparing yourself to that standard, until you start to reframe and know that the definition of beauty is not a blonde hair, blue eyed white girl or man. That's not the only definition of beauty. That beauty comes in all types of shades, sizes, hair color, skin color, and I'm not defined by that. The way God made me is the way God made me, and I have to learn to love that and know that no one is better than me based on the skin, the color of my skin, or my outer appearance. It's more the content of my character and in my heart. Like they always say, God knows your heart. At the end of the day, no matter what nobody else tells you about how you look, act, or behave, like God knows your heart and your true intentions if no one else does. But, so I became very obsessive with everything. A lot of my compulsive behaviors are based on anxieties that I have when I feel like I'm not being perfect or good enough, or, my hair picking obsession is because it's not straightened. It has a kink in it. That's an imperfection. Just other little nail biting, but that's more of a just an anxiety thing. It's not about. But I do notice, like, if I feel like, oh, there's a little piece sticking out, or there's something out of line, that OCDness, like, keeping things in order, in line, you become obsessive with control as well, because when you're full of anxious energy and anxieties, everything is about keeping you at a state of calm, and it's like it can become controlling, because you're trying to make everything around you line up to where nothing startles you, nothing puts you in that state of disorder, because your body does not have that ability like it should to bounce back to a balanced state. And that comes from like that, regulating those cortisol levels, which is like that stress hormone, regulating your ability to come out of fight or flight and come more into that rest and digest. I have episodes and blogs on that. You can check out previous episodes and my blogs on getting to know those things and understanding that. But yeah, it's like this idea of, because we're comparing ourselves to perfection, is first of all an illusion. Perfection is what you make it. Like I always say, I reframed the narrative that I am perfectly imperfect. Everything about me, even the imperfections, are perfect. So that is a way to kind of ground in that energy and cultivate more of that self-acceptance, that self-love, that self-confidence, and just knowing that no one has the right to tell you if you're ugly, if you're less than, if you should be insecure because you're big. Baby, if you big, flaunt that. Do you? If you skinny, flaunt that. If you ain't got no booty, flaunt that. You know what I'm saying? Like the media and society and certain musical cultures kind of promote body dysmorphia and body insecurities, and different celebrities and people who come out promote this because they're getting more attention, and there's this myth that men prefer women who are more plastic or more how can I say, surgeries, like plastic surgeries. Not saying I'm against anybody getting plastic surgery, because do you, boo boo. If that's what you want to do, it's your body, it's your right. But what I'm saying is, do it for the right reasons, and not because you want to be attractive to this person, that person. Do it because of yourself, and that's why self-love is always the foundation of everything. And the perfection phobia more goes into, that spotlight being on you. Sometimes you have the pressure of, because you're feeling all this hate or resistance around you, say you're in a good relationship. Like for the longest, like, I felt like I was held to a certain standard, and that pressure of upholding this image of perfection, which, like I said, is false. Like, the song say in a Lee Chopper, ain't couple goes, what, I forgot what he said, but basically like couple goals ain't real, or relationship goals ain't real in a sense. So it's like we have these, all of that is more like in our head, our own internalization based on things we've heard, seen, or experienced in our childhood and in our life, throughout our life, that make us feel, especially with social media era, where you're only getting this little bird's eye view, or this how can I say, like just highlighted viewpoint. So you only seeing a snippet of their reality, and only what they want you to see. You don't always get to see the down and dirty, and that's what people need to see, because that will normalize more that's more realistic than what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is just an aspect of the moments of good, but I don't have to go around and telling people, oh yeah, me and my husband, we argue, oh yeah, we've had disagreements, and yeah, we've things have gotten ugly before. I shouldn't have to say that for it to be like common sense, and just knowing that couples go through ups and downs. That's the reality of it. Harmony comes with chaos. Harmony comes with conflict. To know, I'm going more into this when I do my relationship episode, but just knowing that perfection does not exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have that fear because you're trying to uplift to something that you will never be able to attain. And you're trying to uphold an image that you never will be able to attain. Your ego will have you running in circles and loops and doing things out of character and out of your spirit's alignment to keep up with the Joneses. And the Joneses don't even exist. So I say all this to say, know that perfection is an illusion when it's making you do things that are not in alignment with who you are and what you want in life. Really get true with your heart's desires, not your mind's desires, and know that you're perfectly imperfect and you're perfectly designed just the way you are. God did not make a mistake when he made you. Peace. I want to talk a little bit about Black pride and my personal take on it. I feel like cultivating Black pride is not, it doesn't mean being conceited. Having pride in who you are, having pride in your culture, having pride in your race, having pride in who you are authentically has nothing to do with the hate of the opposite or the other race or any other person. It's solely about internal love. It's solely about self-love and self-acceptance, and exuding that to a point where you're confident and you're cultivating self-confidence and self-worth. And don't allow people to make you feel like you're being conceited or cocky, because I always say cockiness and cockiness is in the eye of the beholder. So a person's insecurities can be projected onto you to make you feel like you need to dim your light, you need to calm yourself down. If you don't need to bring someone else down to bring yourself up, and you just want to gas yourself up, then there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a believer of bringing people down, but do you? But I don't feel like being confident and gassing yourself up and exuding this pride of yourself is cocky or, arrogant or whatever, any of these negative labels and connotations that attach to a person being confident. This is why sometimes imposter syndromes sneak up, because of the stigmas behind the behaviors that are cultivating positivity or cultivating wellness and health. It's like, dang, I can't gas myself up, I can't be confident. Now I'm labeled as this. Now I'm labeled as, oh, she thinks she all that. Oh, she bougie. This is why I say don't let nobody define you and do you. Because you can't win for losing. Danged if you do, danged if you don't. So, if so, why not do what's working for you? If you're going to have haters no matter what, why not do the thing that at least serves you? You don't have to be doing everything to try to please people, because at the end of the day, like I said, you're still going to have someone who, there's always going to be someone. So have your pride, have your confidence, have your self-love. This page is not about hating white people, hating any other race, hating anybody. It's really about unity, love, and consciousness, and positivity. Don't get fooled and don't get sucked into this world's negative, dense constructs by allowing the fact that you have pride for yourself fuel you with hate for someone else. We can't always be blaming other people for things. Yes, hold people accountable, but not a generalized statement towards a whole race or a whole group of people. That's only fueling paranoia, distrust, skepticism, cynicism within yourself. Sometimes you just have to take things for what it is, and it's not always personal. Or, you know, you're missing out on blessings. You can block blessings too, because if you're walking around not trusting, I don't trust white people, or, you know, having all these conspiracy theories in your head, you have to realize the mind will create a lot of illusions around you to protect you, but it's not really protecting you, it's really hurting you. So keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Like today, I just left the doctor's appointment. It was a white girl. Old me would have probably been like, oh, I wanted a black doctor, I wanted this, here you go. They're not going to really listen to me. They're not going to hear me out. All these negative. Yes, these are things I've experienced, but am I going to allow them to harden my heart and fuel my mind with end-all, be-alls narratives? You have to have this dialogue with yourself to cultivate positive self-talk, to cultivate alternative thought process, whatever. Like, reframe those thoughts. The good thing about a thought is that it can be changed. You know, when you having those thoughts, rationalize and say, well, you know what? I'm giving everybody, you know, I'm going off based on how I feel and how this person treats me, not based on the last person. It's kind of like using that same concept. You know, when you're in a relationship, you don't want to give your new lover or partner the damaged goods of you. You know what I mean? Like, you want to communicate the fact that maybe, yeah, you've been burned or hurt before, but it's not fair to them that you take it out on them. You know what I mean? Like, they deserve that benefit of the doubt. They deserve that equal chance to prove themselves. Let them prove themselves, but don't, you know, allow it. Open your heart. Don't be so hard, or like, how can I say, dry, or you know, just bitter. Like, you know, open your energy, be sweet, be loving, you know, be positive. That was one of the best doctor's appointments I've ever had. She was so thorough. She was so passionate. She was a teacher. She explained every single thing. She literally gave me a whole, like, little medical school class. I was like, and for me, it was like, that was a blessing, because that's me. I love that. Growing up, I always wanted to know why. And, you know, we grew up and it's like, because I said so, because I'm grown, that's why. And it's like, for the kid that always wants to know, that sucks. We want to know why. We're mature enough to hear it. We're smart enough to understand it. And, you know, I just go to say, like, have pride. Don't allow your mind to create false narratives.
Use the left lane to take the ramp to Texas 8 Beltway East.
Sorry, guys. You know, me and my GPS, I be driving. I make these posts as I think of them and as I experience it. I just left the doctor's office, so I had to I started thinking about pride, and I kind of encapsulated it.
The ramp to Texas 8 Beltway East, then merge onto Sam Houston Tollway East.
And then I combined it with this one. So, but yeah, I'm wrap it up because I don't want to keep interrupting the video with the GPS. But yeah, just be mindful. Listen to the words I have to say. This is all love and, you know, compassion. I just want you guys to try to practice positivity, practice being, you know, logical, rational, and, you know, giving people chances. You know, not holding the wounds and the traumas to the point where they're creating roadblocks. They're hardening your heart. They're making you miserable. Heaven on earth is about choosing to not be miserable and to choose to be positive, or choose to see things from more than one perspective. But yeah, guys, I'll wrap it up. As always, someone who cares, a spiritual activist. Peace, love, light, and healing energies. Be open to receiving them. Keep God first. Peace out. Rise and shine your light in opulence, my solution seekers. It's your girl, the spiritual activist, coming to you again with another episode. On this episode, I want to talk about how to swallow your pride so you can be proud. And I know that may sound weird, because you're like, they're the same thing in a sense. But I did a video on how to cultivate pride within yourself, to cultivate self-love and just, accepting who you are. But this pride is the one that you need to swallow sometimes, when you think so highly of yourself that you start to open the gates of egocentrism, where you cannot see another person's point of view, or narcissism, where you see their point of view but you don't care. So it's kind of like the saying of, you think your ish don't stink. And this can really block your blessings. And I feel like this is a big issue within the Black community, just from my experience. And when I say things about the Black community, it's not to bash our community, but it's because that is my focus. That is my passion. That is what I'm here to heal, because that is the life that I've lived, and that is the perspective that I have. But this message can go to anyone, and it's not a bashing of my community. Every message that I have comes from a place of non-judgment, love, and compassion. So I want to put that disclaimer out there for any cynics or skeptics out there. I love my family. I love my community. I love my people. Always. Unconditionally. Unconditionally. But let me get back on topic, because, I get in my feelings a little bit. But yeah, so this idea that no one can tell you nothing, or you're never wrong, or the world is revolving around you and you can't see and take accountability for your actions or for the things that you may have done. And even if, how people say, like, I'm sorry you I'm sorry or you feel I hurt you, or I'm sorry you feel that way, and you feel like that's like a backhanded apology, or just like a sorry it's apology or something. And it's just like, being able to come to a middle ground and have compassion for people and long enough to hear them out. Literally, like, really hear them out. Not let it go in one and out the other, because you've already made up your mind, because your ego is trying to protect you from the accountability of that, your sense of self may be shaken. Your defense mechanisms may be shaken. Recognizing that, being aware of it, so that way, without judgment now, it's okay. I've been there too. I have it too. As Black people, we've had to adapt these types of defenses and survival tactics and adaptations to survive. But it's coming to a point now where we don't have to do that or rely on it to survive. We can thrive now. We can get ahead of our mind and conquer our mind and this ego that I sometimes, or the mental constructs that I sometimes call the Massa Mentality, because it's kind of like you're allowing your mind to be your master instead of you being the master of your mind. And it also kind of touches on the fact of Massa, which goes along with, that colonized conditioning that a lot of us have, whether it be from personal experience, ancestral traits, or just the programming that's in our media and the things that we read and all this other kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's just like, sometimes really just, it's okay to mess up or be in the wrong, quote unquote, in the wrong. Humble yourself enough to admit it, and then congratulate yourself and be proud. Swallow that pride to be proud. You're basically of your growth. It's commendable. You're growing, you're evolving, you're allowing yourself to put your mind in a vulnerable state. And don't worry about what reaction you get, because you got to realize everybody is not on, may not be at the same level of you, or not in the sense of better than or worse than, but they may not have gotten to a place where they could do the same thing you're doing. So sometimes you're the bigger person and you may get a reaction that makes you feel a sense of rejection. Just take a deep breath and still commend yourself and say, you know what I did, what clears my conscience. Their reaction is a reflection of what they're going through, not of who I am. Because you may get some like, well, yeah, I know you're wrong. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. Da, da, da. But it's not about right or wrong. It's just about seeing that, seeing the fact that there may be a perspective, or the person may see something in a different way that may have put you in the wrong, and you may not have fully been wrong. But it's like the point of saying, I hear you, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry. You know, I see it from your point of view now, and I see how that could have been perceived that way, and how you could have taken it that way, and kind of give an explanation. You know, as me and my partners, we started over, like, you know, we're starting to date again, and, you know, just kind of rekindling that flame and that passion. We have these types of open, honest conversations, and we call out these things for what it is. Oh, that's just anxiety, or that's just pride, or that's just this, and we're humbling ourselves and being able to not be so petty, and put that attitude and that personality and the ego to the side, and actually being able to apologize. We're practicing empathy. We're practicing sympathy and compassion, and being able to say, you know, I'm sorry that I did this action and that made you feel this way. And that's one of the best ways to combat the narcissistic energy. I don't like labels, but, you know, it is what it is. A person who don't care about your perspective, even though they see it, or a person who does, who can't even have the ability to see it. You know, they're just self-centered, and the world revolves around them, and they see nothing. They never look within themselves. They're always pointing fingers out, but never pointing a finger towards you. I always say, if you're gonna be pointing fingers, make sure one of them is pointing at yourself. That self accountability is powerful. Perspective is power. It is. Being able to see another person's point of view can really open your eyes to the fact that the reality that some people really saw it a different way. And thus it affected them in a whole totally different way. It's not always a good or bad or right or wrong. It's just, it is what it is. They perceived it this way, you perceived it that way. And that affected their take on it, and that affected your take on it. And that's why I say practicing positivity is a way that you change your perspective and outlook and mindset, dispelling that depression and resentment and that bitterness and that woe is me, pity party, all of these low energies of victim mentality, hopelessness, helplessness, because you start to be able to see things. Oh, okay, it is what it is. Okay, well, I guess I don't need to use it. It broke. I guess this happened. Oh, well, I guess I need to be practicing patience. All right. Like, just, oh, they ain't hit me back when I want to. I guess they have a life. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes we get so self-centered. And I'm like, it kind of brings back to something else I wanted to talk about. I was watching, of course, you know, my show, Insecure. And it was, I don't know what happened, but I was basically came to the epiphany of, and I've said this before, you can't expect the you from someone else. You're gonna be disappointed every time that people don't pride themselves in your life. Like, I literally had to laugh after I wrote it. Like, it's funny when you say it out loud. Like, think about it. You really thinking somebody's supposed to prioritize you? It don't matter if they have a job or not. People, humans are humans. They have lives, and everybody's over here going through it, and going through stuff, and having anxiety, having busy lives, and we can't expect people to put us on the top of their list. That's your job to ensure and stay on top of it. Sometimes you got to micromanage people, and sometimes you just got to wait on divine time and just relax. And just know that it's gonna get taken care of. It's gonna get done. Just chill out. You can't control everything. Some things are out of your control. And finding solace in that and comfort in that is gonna be empowering for most. I know it has been for me. But yeah, there was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember. Hold on. Yeah, I think that was it. I think what I had to say was for another video. But as always, guys, someone who cares, the spiritual activist, sending you guys so much peace, love, light, and healing energies. Be open to receiving them. Keep God first. Love you guys. Peace out.